the longitudinal and the transverse profile of a river. So we have got a longitudinal as well as a transverse profile of a river. Guys, whenever we talk about profiles or whenever we are referring to the profiles of something, we are talking about the view from a certain point. When we are looking at a river, how do we view it? Can we view the river from the side, or can we get inside the river? Can you be able to, what can you actually do? How can you view the river? Let's just say you want to go and see the river. What view do you get from the river? Okay, so in geography, we look at two important profiles. We have got a longitudinal profile. We also have got a transverse profile of a river. Two profiles, a longitudinal profile as well as a transverse profile of a river. So now, a longitudinal profile, it is the side view of a river from source to mouth. Let's just get that definition. Whenever we define the longitudinal profile of a river, we define it as the side view. So you are viewing the river from the side view of a river, right? From the source to the mouth. So you guys already know that the source of the river, it is always found in a higher lying area. That's what I told you guys, that the source of the river is found in the higher lying area. The source of the river is the higher lying area, and the water flows downstream. It actually flows from a higher lying ground to a lower lying ground. Water cannot be able to climb a mountain, grade 12s, but water can flow down a mountain. Okay, so basically the source of the river, it is found at a higher lying area. So this is a longitudinal profile. So the source of the river, it is found here at the higher lying area. This is where the river begins. Okay, this is where the river begins. That's the source of the river. This is where the river begins. It is a higher lying area, or it is a higher lying ground. It's a place that is in a higher lying area. Okay. So now what happens? This is your river. So this blue here is representing your river's water that is flowing. So now in this view, your river's water is flowing downstream. So your river's water is flowing downstream, flowing downstream, flowing downstream. Right? It is flowing downstream, flows downstream until it gets to the lower course, and then eventually it will get into the ocean. Remember, guys, we say that the rivers, they flow into the ocean, or they flow towards the ocean. So the longitudinal profile, it is a profile, or it is a side view that allows you to see the river from where it begins to where it ends. Because it begins at the source, it ends at the mouth. Remember, it begins at the source where it collects its water, the catchment area where it collects its water. Then it ends here at the mouth where it enters into the ocean. Let me repeat myself again. The river begins at the source where it collects its water, usually a catchment area. Then it ends at the mouth where it enters into the ocean or into the sea. All right. So if you are able to capture, or if you are able to see the view of a river from where it begins to where it ends, we say that you are seeing the longitudinal profile of that river. Because the longitudinal profile is what? Is the side view, guys. It's a side view. You are viewing the river from the side, such that you see where it begins and where it ends. We also have another one, which is known as a transverse profile. So this transverse profile is a front view. Now that one is a front view of a river. What do we mean that is a front view of the river? So now from this side view, guys, let's say now we put you here. This is you here. This is you. And this is your nose here. Yeah, this is you and your nose. And you are looking at the river. Do you see that you are in the river? Let's just assume that you are not sinking, but you are in the river. This is you. You are in the river. Maybe you are holding a camera or something like that. Okay, you are looking at the river, right? So the view that you are able to see while you are inside the river, that is a transverse. That is a transverse profile, or that is a transverse view of a river. What is a transverse view of a river actually? It is a front view of a river. You are viewing the river from the front. What can you see from the front? Okay, it's like you are getting inside the river, guys. You guys, if you have once been in villages, you know that you can get inside the river. If you are getting inside the river and you are looking at the river from where it's coming from, or you are looking at the river where it's going, that is you seeing the transverse profile. That is you seeing the what? The side, the front view of a river. Okay, so the river is coming towards you actually. The river is flowing towards you in this case. So the river is flowing in this direction, right? It is flowing towards you. And how do we make that? How do we represent that using diagrams? We use valleys. These diagrams here, they represent the front view of a river. All right. They represent the front view of a river. So the first one, we've got a V-shaped valley. So let's say that you are inside the river and you are able to see it in this way. This is the water of the river. You guys can see the water here. So this is the water of the river. In our minds, this is the water of the river. So when you are inside the river, guys, you are able to see the front view of the river, right? And the river is flowing towards you. The river is flowing towards you. Remember, guys, the river is flowing towards you and you are seeing it from the front view. You are seeing it from the front view. You are inside the river. So you are able to see this. So it can happen that your river has got valleys that are V-shaped. It means that the river channel or the river is flowing on an area that has got a shape that looks like a V, like this. That looks like a V. Or it can happen that your river is actually flowing in an area whereby the land looks like a U shape. The valleys of the river looks like a U shape. This is you are seeing all of this. You are inside the river. Imagine it, guys. You are inside the river. You are seeing this inside the river. If only we can make this lesson practical, I would take you to a river, guys, and you would get inside and I will say, this is a transverse profile, but you guys can see it. But you are inside the river. You are able to see it in this way. Okay. And then you can also have got a river's transverse profile whereby the valleys are U-shaped, or we can say, they've got a flat shape. So they've got a flat shape. So these ones are more wider. Okay, so these are the types of valleys that you can have. So we've got valleys that look like V shapes, that look like U shapes, and the other ones, they look like flat shapes. But you are seeing this, you are inside the river, the water is coming towards you, grade 12. The water is coming towards you. Just cannot be able to draw this using arrows, but the water, imagine the water is coming towards you. Imagine the water is coming out of this picture, coming towards you. Hey, just that you guys are supposed to take a course when you get to varsity, do graphics design. If you do graphics design, I will employ you and you design me these graphics because I really need them. Okay. But yeah, that's a transverse profile, guys, is the front view of a river. Okay, so the transverse profile is otherwise known as the cross-sectional. So this is otherwise known as the cross-section, or you can say it's the cross-sectional view of a river. So it's the cross-section of a river. You are inside the river. You are able to see certain things. Okay, what are you able to see from a side view? The side view allows you to see the gradient of the river. It also allows you to see the length of the river. Guys, remember, guys, we said that the side view of a river or the longitudinal profile of a river, right? The longitudinal, guys, we're talking about this one, the longitudinal, it shows the longitude of the river, guys, the long part of the river. That's what it means. The longitudinal profile is the side view. What can you see from it? You can be able to see the river's gradient, guys, because you can see how much slope this is. This is a steep slope, right? This is a steep slope. You guys can be able to see the steep slope just from the side view. So the side view allows you to see the gradient of the river. If I give you two side views, let's say that the first side view, you have got a river like this, right? You have got a river like this. The river is flowing in an area like this. So this is the first side view that I'm going to give you and say that my river is flowing in an area like this, right? And then I give you another one that is way different. Let me just give you another different one. And I say that this is another side view, or this is another longitudinal profile. And this longitudinal profile, I'm going to make it a bit, different, a bit different. You guys can see that these have got different gradients. This one looks a bit gentler, or the gradient looks a bit gradual, all right? Okay, one of them, their gradient looks like it's a bit better, or it's a bit gradual, it's a bit gentler. It's because basically the side views allow you to also see the gradient of the river. You can see how steep the river is, how steep is the land where the river is flowing. So it's known as a side view. The side view allows you to see the gradient of the river. It also allows you to see the length of the river, because remember we said that the side view is moving from the source of the river. It is moving from the source of the river. It is moving from where the river begins all the way to where the river ends. So if you know where something begins and you know where it ends, you can be able to also see its length, how long it is. That's why we call it a longitudinal profile. That's the term longitude. All right, how long is the river? The length of the river. So here, the length of the river can be seen also from the longitudinal profile. All right. But okay, for the transverse profile, what can you see? You can be able to see the depth of the river. You can see how deep the river is. So you can see here the depth of the river. These are the things that you can see from each profile. Because guys, imagine if you are inside the river, you can see how deep it is. If you are inside it, because you are inside it, right? But if you are just looking from the side, you don't know what's happening inside. But if you are inside the river, you are looking at the transverse profile, the front view of the river, you have an idea of how deep the river is. The river channel, how deep is it? You also have got an idea of how deep is the river? You also have an idea of the width of the river, how wide the river is, how wide the river is, how open is the river. I mean, some of the rivers are not open, guys. It can only accommodate 3 people. But some rivers, you can get in, 10 people can get inside it.
Hey Lapo, I know that you've been enjoying this wonderful video, and most likely you've been enjoying watching this handsome face in front of you. But sorry ladies, I'm taken. I just here to tell you that Educate is on the road to 100,000 subscribers by the end of 2025. So please click the subscribe button and click the notification bell so that you get notifications whenever I post new videos. I want you guys to pass. Okay, so if you make my dream true, I reach 100k subscribers, I will make your dreams come true. I will even get you to varsity. I will get you with 7 distinctions. Yes.
So I was still explaining to you guys before we went to the break that you guys can be able to evaluate, or you can be able to see the gradient of the river, how steep the river channel is, all right, just from the side profile or from the side view or the longitudinal profile. And you're also able to see the length, how long the river is, because you're able to see the river from the source until its mouth. Okay, so let me just delete all of this so that we can really get to know, or we can really get to understand what happens on a river profile, especially the longitudinal profile, the side profile. Okay, I want to try and see how these 2 profiles are related and what can we deduct from them. Okay, so a river has got 3 stages, great toes. A river has got 3 stages, or it has got 3 courses, right? So we have got an upper course. So we have got a region in a river, or we have got a certain place in a river known as the upper course. So this region here, from here to here, we say that the river is in its upper course. So if it happens that the water is flowing at this point that I'm highlighting right now, I don't know if you guys can see here, let me just highlight with a black color. So if the river is flowing in this region, we say that the river is in its upper course. Upper course. All right. So the river, it is in its upper course. And then when the river is now flowing in this middle section, it is in its middle course. So after the upper course, when the river now starts flowing here in this region here, this new region here, after the upper course, we have got a middle course. So we say that the river is in its middle course. It's in its middle course. And then if the river continues to flow down and continues to flow down, when it is now flowing, okay, so now when your river is now flowing in this lower region, now this is a region that is closer to the ocean craters. Okay, when your river is now flowing in this region that is closer to the ocean, this one, we now say that your river is in its lower course. Okay, how were these names assigned? It is just based on the height. Remember, guys, we said that the river, it starts at a higher ground, or it starts at a higher elevation. It starts at a top place, and the water flows down from that place, creating a river. So in other words here, the upper course, it is the upper region where the river is flowing closer to the source. So when the river is just flowing from the catchment area there, that is the upper course. So we need to know the characteristics of each and every course to say that when we say that our river is in its upper course, what is happening to the river? What are the flow characteristics of the river? We already talked about the processes that are associated with a river that is flowing. We said that we have got 3 fluvial processes, grade 12s. We have got 3 fluvial processes: erosion, deposition, transportation. Those are the 3 fluvial processes that we have: erosion, deposition, as well as transportation. So it's erosion, transportation, and deposition. So now we want to try and understand what if the river, it is still flowing in the upper course, or if the river is in its upper course at the upper region, what flow characteristics does it have? When the river now flows at a lower region here at this middle course, what flow characteristics will it have? And lastly, when a river is flowing here towards the ocean, or here when it's about to enter into the sea, how does it flow? What characteristics does it have? How much does it erode? How much does it deposit? All right. So we're going to look at the characteristics of the upper course. What's happening when we say that the river is at its upper course? So the upper course, sometimes we'll say that the river is young. So we usually say that the river is young at the upper course. When we say that the river is young at the upper course, it simply tries to suggest that the river has got more energy. Okay, the river has got more energy. So at the upper course, the river is young. The river has got more energy. All right. So the river is young, the river has got more energy. But now we need to understand what is causing the river to have more energy. What is causing the river to be young? Why do we even call the river young at the upper course? The first thing that's happening there, we're going to talk about the vertical erosion. All right. So first of all, at the upper course, the dominant type of erosion that is happening at the upper course is vertical erosion. Remember, guys, I already explained to you that in vertical erosion, the river, the water, it is actually eroding downwards, or it is actually digging downwards. And we say that that actually causes the valleys to become deeper. The valleys become deeper because the water is digging deep, such that if you were able to step into the river when the river was still weak, later on you cannot step into the river because the river you will now sink, because now the river is now deeper due to this water that is digging deep, the water that is eroding vertically downward by 12. So here in this way, what's happening here? What's happening? Vertical erosion dominates in the upper course. So when the river is flowing at the upper region, when the river is just flowing here closer to the source, just this small Anyana portion, we say that the river is having a lot of vertical erosion. The river is eroding downwards. So now remember, guys, we say that vertical erosion results in valleys that are what? Valleys that are deep. So basically, if you are viewing the river from the transverse profile, okay, so if you are inside the river, this is you are inside the river, and you are looking at the river, you are looking at the river's upper course from the transverse profile, from the front view, you are inside the river and the water is flowing towards you. What are you going to see? You are going to see V-shaped valleys. So, let me repeat myself again. If you are inside the river, you are seeing the transverse profile, right? The front view of the river. You are looking at the river itself and you are seeing the front view, grade 12. So what are you going to see at the upper course? You're going to see something like this type of valley. This is the transverse profile that you'll be able to see, a V-shaped valley. So your river will become V-shaped. Why are they V-shaped? It is because the river is digging deep and deep and deep and deep. So we have got deep values. That's the first thing that we have at the upper course. The valleys are deep. Why are the valleys deep? It is because of this vertical erosion. Remember, guys, I said that vertical erosion makes the valleys to become deeper and narrow. I didn't mention the narrow part, but basically the rivers become deeper and narrow. So basically, if you are here, here you are here, and you are viewing the river from the front view, you are going to see that the river will have V-shaped valleys. So when the water is coming towards you, the river would have V-shaped valleys. What is the reason? Why are we having this V-shape? First of all, the V-shape is because the river valleys are deep. What's making the river valleys to be deep is because there is a lot of vertical erosion. The river is digging down deep. Okay, that's why the shape end up becoming a V shape. Okay, so basically this vertical erosion makes the valleys become deep and narrow, such that whenever you see them from this transverse profile, you're gonna see them that they're gonna have deeper values and narrow values. But we say that they are V-shaped. So we have V-shaped valleys at the upper course. So it means someone who is watching this from the inside, from the front view, the person inside the water can be able to see V-shaped valleys. The other thing, they are very steep slopes. That's one thing. So there is a very steep slope. They are very steep slope. Guys, this V-shape, you can see that it's a V-shape. So basically, it is a very steep slope. So we've got very steep slope. And you can just see just from the gradient, guys, remember that the side profile or the side view or the longitudinal profile is able to show us the gradient. In this case, guys, it is very visible that here at the top or here at the upper course, the gradient is steeper, because you can see that here the gradient is steeper. You guys can see that it's a steep area here. There's a steep area at the upper course. All right, so we have got very steep slopes, and the riverbed is uneven. The riverbed is uneven. So basically, the riverbed, if we say that the riverbed is uneven, guys, remember, when we're talking about the riverbed, what are we talking about? So let me just make a diagram of a transverse profile. If we have got a river that is flowing in a valley, so if the river is flowing in a valley like this, the bottom part of the river is known as the riverbed. So the riverbed is the bottommost part of the river. If you were to sink, you would sink to the riverbed. You would sink to the most bottom part. The part that is at the bottom the most, the one that we'll use to measure the depth of the river, that is the riverbed that we're talking about. So in the upper course, the riverbed is uneven. So it means that the riverbed has got rocks, it has got things, it is not even, it's not smooth. Okay, so the riverbed is uneven. Okay, the riverbed is uneven, the riverbed is not smooth. Okay, and if the riverbed is not smooth, the water there, it will flow in a turbulent flow. So the water would have some turbulence. So the river is actually flowing in a rough way. You guys should know what turbulence is, right? Because basically we've got two types of flow. Let me just kind of give you a brief on it. It's not much things. So when the water is flowing roughly, when the water is flowing chaotically, we say that we're having a turbulent flow. Okay, for example, look at this one. This water looks like it is splashing and splashing and splashing. Why is it splashing? It's because the riverbed is uneven. The riverbed is not smooth. Okay, so if the water keeps on bumping on the rocks, it splashes and splashes and splashes. So this is known as turbulent flow. But we also have laminar flow. So there is turbulent flow. Turbulent flow, remember we said that the river's water, it is just flowing in a chaotic manner. It is flowing violently. Okay, it is flowing violently because the riverbed is not even. Okay, the bottom part of the river has got a lot of stones and rocks and all of those obstructions. So the water is just bumping on the rocks, splashing and splashing and splashing and splashing. I did make a video on the river discharge, guys. I will send you a link. You're just gonna say no, it's not that much of a big deal. But basically, the turbulent flow is basically a motion of water that is characterized by chaotic changes in pressure and velocity. So water is splashing and splashing and splashing. That's what happens at the upper course of the river. So at the upper course of the river flows chaotically. The river flows with roughness. Okay, it is because the slope is very steep and also there's an uneven riverbed. So the riverbed is uneven. The riverbed has got obstructions. It has got rocks, stones, and everything. So when water is flowing over such an area, if water flows over such an area, it will just splash and splash and splash and splash and have a lot of turbulence. Okay, because basically turbulent flow simply means that water is flowing chaotically. And this is because of this uneven riverbed and is flowing very fast. Okay, which takes us to this fourth point that says that the velocity of the river is the highest. So basically, the river is flowing fastest. Why is it flowing so fast? It's because the slope is steep, guys. Remember, guys, the steeper the slope, the greater the flow of water there. I mean, if you were to pour water on a flat surface, pour water on your flow, it will not flow away, guys. We did this thing. We said that a steeper gradient promotes more surface runoff. It promotes a greater flow of water from the catchment area. If you were to pour water on a flow, guys, it would not be able to flow that much. Hey, hear my words carefully. If you were to pour water on the flow, like the flow, the water will not be able to flow that much. But if you would pour that water on a mountain, it will rapidly flow. It's because the mountain has got a steeper slope. So here at the upper course, we already say that here at the upper section of the river, the slope there is very steep. That is what causes the river to have a lot of velocity. Velocity being the speed, the river to flow faster. So the river is flowing faster because they are steeper slope. Okay, so river flows faster because they are steeper slope. Okay, and then the other thing we have got. Okay, I'll get back to you. 2 seconds. Sorry for that, guys. Sorry for that. Just fixing something. All right. So I was talking about velocity, guys. The velocity of the river is the highest due to steep slopes. The river is flowing so fast. It's because there's a very steep slope. Water is flowing quickly, rapidly. All right. So now, the other thing that you can add, guys, when water is flowing quickly, it has got a bigger carrying capacity. That's what you should know. So at the upper course, there is a bigger carrying capacity. So the water has a bigger carrying capacity. What is that? Basically, the water is able to carry materials in it, to carry the eroded materials in it. Because remember, guys, that this water erodes materials from the ground. It erodes materials from the ground. It removes materials from the ground. So it's able to carry those materials with itself and wash them away. So it has got a greater carrying capacity. All right. So, like, for example, guys, remember when we explained these three processes, the flowing processes, we say that the river removes materials from the ground and it carries them downstream. it washes them away. The water carries them downstream. Okay, the water carries the rocks and the soil that has been eroded from the ground. It carries it as it flows down. So at the upper course, the river is able to carry more because it is flowing faster. Guys, when water is flowing faster and violently, it's just able to just erode the soil and carry it away. That's why we say that it's got a bigger carrying capacity. It's able to carry the eroded material. It's able to carry the material that has been removed from the ground. We're talking about rocks and all of that. So the type of load that we're having, or the type of load that we're talking about here that is being carried, is known as traction load. I explained to you guys traction load last time to say that this is the load that just moves along the riverbed. Okay, the traction load is big load, those big boulders and large rocks. So this is rocks, large rocks and big boulders. Okay, the water just shifts them. The water just shifts them. I still remember guys explaining to you last time to say that traction load, we just have got those rocks that are just being pushed by the water downstream, pushed by the water downstream. So those rocks are big and they are heavy. They are big and they are heavy. So they are just being carried down, or they are just being washed down. They are just being slided down. So this is otherwise known as the bed load. Okay, the traction load, we can say that this is the bed load. It just moves around here, the riverbed. So we, at the upper course, the river has got so much power, enough for it to be able to carry the large rocks. That's why we say that it has got a bigger carrying capacity, the 12s. The carrying capacity, we are talking about how much capacity, how much things can a river carry, or how much eroded material can a river carry. At the upper course, the river has got a lot of speed, a lot of velocity. So it's able to carry a lot of items, large items, rocks, big boulders. It's because the gradient is steep. That's why it's fast. So those are properties of the upper course. We say that at the upper course, the river is young, it's energetic, because the river is flowing fast, right? So we can kind of relate it to us as humans to say that when you are young, you are energetic. So the river is young at the upper course because it is flowing so fast. It is carrying a lot of things at once. That's being young, just like us as humans. If you are young, you can do more things compared to an old person. All right. So this is the upper course. Know these characteristics, grade 12s. They are extremely important. Please, they are very extremely important. Yes, SMO.
Say, will you mind please repeat for me the traction load?
Traction load is just large rocks. Just say it's large rocks and big boulders. It's just rocks and big boulders. Those heavy rocks that are heavy, that are found in the ground. Simply said.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they contribute to the uneven riverbed.
Yes, they're actually one of them. Perfect for you mentioning that. They're actually one of the constituents and contributors to this uneven riverbed. Because if we're having a lot of, because remember, traction load, we sometimes say is known as bed load. It is found at the riverbed because those are large rocks and they are heavy. So they are found here at the riverbed. Okay, they are found here at the riverbed. They are large rocks and they are heavy. So they actually make the riverbed to be uneven. So when water is flowing on top of the river or onto those rocks, it becomes more turbulent and it becomes more rough. So yes, they are part of the factors that cause the riverbed to be uneven.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. All right. So now we are moving to the middle course. So your river has flown the upper course. Now your river is in its middle course. So the middle course is like a middle age. Okay, it's like a middle age, right? So basically now your river has come from that higher place, which is the upper course. Now it is at the middle course. So it is now flowing down here at this particular area. your river is flowing down here, this particular area. Now you can see, guys, that what's happening here. Let's look at the characteristics. The dominant type of erosion occurring at the middle course is the lateral erosion. It's no longer vertical erosion. Remember, guys, at the upper course, we had a lot of vertical erosion. The river was eroding downwards. The river was making the valleys to become more deeper. But now at the middle course, the dominant type of erosion is known as what? Lateral erosion. All right. So, grade 12, at the middle course, lateral erosion is dominant, but at the upper course, it is vertical erosion that is dominant. So lateral erosion dominates. And remember, guys, I already explained that lateral erosion causes the valleys to become wider. So they will no longer be deeper, but now they will start becoming wider. So it means that if you're inside the river here, and you're at the middle course, right, you're inside the river and you want to see the transverse profile, you're trying to look at the river, you're inside it, you're going to see that the valleys there, they're going to be wide, they're going to be wider, they're going to be more open. Your river will now be more open. You guys know that the river starts as a narrow place, right? I'm sure you guys have lived Emakaya. So the river starts as a narrow river, but with time your river starts to go sideways and the channel becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. This is how a river works. The channel becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. We call that meandering, but I'm still going to explain how meandering works. But basically, this is what happens. The river starts eroding sideways. So at the middle course, lateral erosion dominates, meaning that your valleys are going to become wider, because I already explained to you guys that when we're having lateral erosion, the water or the stream, it is eroding sideways. So it is kind of making the river valley to be more open. So now your river will now be more open. All right. If you can fit in, you can be able to fit in more people in this river compared to what it was at the upper course. So at the upper course, remember, it was a narrow. The valleys were narrow. So if you were to put people in this upper course, in the valleys, let's say we are going to swim in the river, you can only put a fewer people in this river because it's narrow, right? But if you go to the middle course, what will you see? The transverse profile that you'll be able to see is a U-shaped valley. So the valleys there will be U-shaped. U-shaped. Why are they having a U-shape? It's because the river is now eroding sideways. Lateral erosion is dominating, causing the river valleys to be wider. And that creates a U-shape. And then now meandering starts to occur due to this lateral erosion. So meandering is when your river is turning and bending. Okay, let me just redraw that structure. So when the river is turning and bending, we say that the river is meandering. So the river starts off like this in the upper course, right? Starts off like this. And then at the middle course, it starts bending. It starts bending, guys. It starts bending. The river starts bending and winding and bending and winding. So this bending and winding is known as meandering. Hey, not good at drawing, but this is known as meandering. Why is your river going to the side, guys? It's because lateral erosion is happening. Because remember, guys, we say that lateral erosion is dominant at the middle course. So since there's a lot of lateral erosion, your river will start moving to the side because it's eroding sideways. So when a river is bending along its course, when a river is bending like this along its course, this is bending, right? We say that the river is meandering. So the river is meandering when you say that the river is bending along its course. It's no longer flowing straight downstream, but as it's flowing downstream, it bends and it winds and bends and bends, meandering. So when your river is now making a snake-like shape, your river is meandering. What's causing it to move side by side? It's because of the lateral erosion. Because lateral erosion, guys, it is sideways erosion. Yes, Yango.
Oh, it is fine. See, now I get it. The moment you said it is sideways, okay, I get it.
Yeah, it's sideways. It caused the river to move to the side and side. Okay. And also, guys, there are more tributaries that join the mainstream here. So more tributaries join the mainstream because remember, guys, the more we go downwards with our river, there is a lot of tributaries that keep on joining and joining and joining and joining from different directions. Okay, so more tributaries will start joining the river at the middle course. So basically, the amount of water in the river at the middle course will definitely be greater than the water that we had at the upper course. Why is that? It's because now there are more tributaries that are joining. I mean, guys, remember, guys, the basic dendritic pattern that we used to do would say, let me just find space here, would say this is a tributary, right? And then there's another tributary, they join together. They will become a bigger river now. And more tributaries keep on joining and joining. So your river's volume of water is becoming bigger. The stream order is increasing, right? That's what stream order means, remember, guys. The stream order of the river is increasing, means that there is more tributaries that are joining into the main river. So basically, more tributaries join the mainstream, causing the mainstream to have more water. Because remember, guys, that more tributaries, they are offloading their water into the mainstream. All right, and then when the river has got more volume of water, when the river gains more volume of water, it will become more erosive. It's able to erode better as well. Because remember, guys, water is very dangerous. It's able to remove the materials. So if we've got a lot of water in the river channel, if we've got a lot of water, a bigger volume of water, guys, try to use these terms. Don't just say a lot of water. It's more volume of water. And when there's more volume of water, there is better erosive power. Okay, better erosive power. All right, so the other thing, there is smaller load as well. So there is smaller load. The smaller load that we're talking about, it is the siltation load. Siltation load, the one that is suspended within the water. So siltation load. So those are just stones and pebbles. Just stones, guys. Remember the rocks and the big boulders, they are traction load. They are just found deep down. The bigger rocks are found at the bottom of the river. That's the traction load that we're talking about, the bed load. But the siltation load is the rocks, is the stones, Jalo. Those stones and pebbles that can just be moved around by the water. So we've got smaller load that is now being carried compared to the first one. And obviously, guys, you can see that at the middle course, the gradient is a bit more gentle compared to the upper course. I mean, look at this, guys. The gradient here at the middle course is now a bit more gentle. From the side view, remember, guys, you can see the gradient, right? So the gradient is now becoming gentle. So water will not be flowing that much fast. So it will not be able to carry traction load. It will not be able to move the bed load. It will not be able to move the big rocks. So at the middle course, that's why we only have smaller load, which is the siltation load. We are talking about stones. We are talking about those small particles. Those are not that are not too big, right? So those are siltation load. That's siltation load, such as stones and pebbles, right? Now, the last part. Now, when the river is about to enter the ocean, we say that the river is in its lower course. A lot of things happen at the lower course. Pay careful attention to the lower course. Now, what's happening at the lower course, grade 12s? At the lower course, we do not have erosion as a dominant fluvial process. The dominant fluvial process at the bottom of the river or the lower course, it is the deposition. So basically, the river starts to deposit. The river starts to do what? To deposit. It starts to deposit its material Remember, guys, we say that deposition simply means that the material of the river, the material that is being carried by the river, it starts being damped. So the siltation load and the traction load that is being moved by the river, it will start being damped and damped and damped. And if there is a lot of damped material here, a lot of deposited material, we say that the valleys become shallower. Guys, remember, shallow is the opposite of deep. So it simply means that the river will not be so deep towards the ocean. Why is that? It's because it's depositing. The more it deposits, like if these stones, guys, if there are more stones that are being deposited here, these stones will end up reaching a bigger level. I mean, imagine, guys, if this river continues to deposit stones, those stones will end up reaching here, and your river will not be so much deep because it has got a lot of deposited material filling its course. Whenever we're going to do the fluvial landforms, you guys will see what landforms can form if we're having more deposition. But you guys have an idea that the more the river is depositing is making the river to be less deep. But we use the term shallow. So the river is becoming more shallower. It's becoming less deep, or you can say more shallower, as more deposition is occurring at the lower course. But now, what's most important for you as grade 12 learners is to know to explain why is deposition a dominant fluvial process at the lower course. So now, at the lower course, what's most important is that we do have lateral erosion at the lower course. We do have lateral erosion, but it's not that much big compared to deposition. There's a lot of deposition, and there is slightly less lateral erosion. There is lateral erosion, but it's not that much. So the channel will still become even wider. But the dominant process, if they say what is the dominant fluvial process at the lower course, it is the what? It is the lateral erosion. All right. So now let's try to explain why is the river depositing its material. Yes, Mwako, before we proceed.
Can you reflect back on the shadow valleys?
Okay. You mean the graphic here, this video like thing?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we were saying that if the river continues to deposit, this deposited material will accumulate at the bottom of the river in such a way that the river will not become that much deep. That's what we were saying.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So that is the deposition process that is a dominant at the lower course. So I was still explaining, guys, why does deposition happen in the first place? It's because the gradient is flat. First of all, guys, the gradient is becoming gentle, guys. You guys can now see that at the lower course, the gradient is gentle now. It is not the same as the upper course. It's now gentle. It almost looks like a flat land. So when water is flowing over a flat land, guys, it doesn't have that much speed. Okay, it has got less speed. So the velocity of the water decreases as well as its carrying capacity. Velocity and carrying capacity, they go hand in hand. But you can mention velocity first. So velocity of a river decreases. Because, guys, remember, guys, that when we've got a gentle gradient, we have got less surface runoff. The water cannot be able to flow that much faster because now it's now a gentle gradient. All right. And this gentle gradient, it also results in further meandering as well. So meandering will still continue to happen. But we're still going to see that clearly when we're doing the fluvial landforms. What does the meandering have to do with this? But you guys should know that due to a flat gradient, due to a gentle gradient, we now have got smaller velocity. The water is not so much speedy now. The velocity of the river decreases. That is why the river deposits the material. Because, guys, the river can only have power if it is flowing so much faster. I mean, guys, imagine, let's just say you go to the beach. If you go to the beach, guys, the water is not violent. because it is not flowing that fast and it's not floods. But if there's a tropical cyclone and there are floods, you guys will run away from the water. The water is only dangerous if it's flowing faster, because if it's flowing faster, it can carry many things. It can erode and destroy things, uproot trees, and carry them as eroded material. It has got a greater carrying capacity when the river is flowing fast. But now we know that the river will flow slower due to the gentle gradient at the lower course. So since the river will flow slower at the lower course due to this gentle gradient, it means that the river cannot be able to carry the eroded materials anymore. That's why it deposits it. It cannot carry it downstream. It starts depositing it. So it simply means now that the water has got less carrying capacity. You should add that point as well, because these nodes, they are not really to the fullest extent. Okay, so you can say that the river has a smaller carrying capacity because now the river is having a smaller speed, right? Carrying capacity. Guys, when I'm explaining this, remember it's a cause and effect, right? How do you explain this thing of carrying capacity? Why? Remember, guys, carrying capacity, it is the ability of a river to carry the eroded materials. So what actually causes the carrying capacity of a river to decrease? The carrying capacity of a river decreases when the velocity of the river decreases as well. So when water is moving slowly, it has got a lower carrying capacity or a smaller carrying capacity. But when the river's velocity, or when the velocity of the river is big, or when the river is moving fast, the river has got bigger carrying capacity. So if you are asked to talk anything that will relate to the carrying capacity at the lower course, or if you are asked to explain deposition, why is deposition the main fluvial process that is taking place at the lower course? First of all, you want to explain that the gradient is flat, causing the velocity of the water to become smaller or slower, or you can say the velocity of the river decreases. And when the velocity of the river decreases, I'm sure you separate those points, guys. Remember, I taught you how to answer in geography. Don't mix 2 points. Okay, velocity of the river decreases due to the gentle gradient. Full stop. You now go. I'm sure you started with the gentle gradient. There is a gentle gradient at the lower course, right? And then velocity of the river decreases due to the gentle gradient. That's the second point. Another 2 marks. And then now you explain that the river has a lower carrying capacity. Why is your river having a lower carrying capacity? This is due to the small velocity, because the water is not moving so fast. So it has got a smaller carrying capacity. You are explaining, Pelalan. You're explaining to the examiner, you understand why the river cannot carry a load anymore. The river cannot carry load anymore is because it now has got a lower carrying capacity. Okay, what's causing the lower carrying capacity? It is this decrease in velocity. And then now, obviously, if the river has got a smaller carrying capacity, it will not be able to continue eroding the material or carrying the eroding material. Instead, it will deposit it. So now deposition will now be the main process that will be dominant due to this lower carrying capacity. Guys, did you hear how I answered this? A question comes to you. Explain why deposition is the main fluvial process taking place at the lower course. 8 marks, paragraph. You move with it, guys. 8 marks, paragraph. You move it with it. First, you explain the gradient. Very naturally, the gradient is gentle at the lower course. You don't have to explain why it's like that, because very is gentle. We can see it from the side profile, right? There's a gentle gradient, or you can say that there's a gradual gradient. You can say that there's a flat gradient at the lower course of the river. That's 1 point. 2 marks. Next, the velocity of the river is smaller, or you can say that it decreases due to the gentle gradient. It's a separate point, guys. You put a full stop after each point. That's another 2 marks. You say that the velocity of the river decreases due to this gentle gradient. I'm sure you already mentioned that there's a gentle gradient. So now the velocity of the river decreases due to this gentle gradient. That's another 2 marks. Full stop. Now, the carrying capacity of the river is smaller, or you can say it is lower. You guys will go and look for the appropriate term. So you can say it's low carrying capacity due to this velocity, right? Since the river is moving slowly, so we're going to have a smaller carrying capacity. And if the river has got a lower carrying capacity or a smaller carrying capacity, it means that it cannot carry the eroded material anymore. So deposition will occur. 4 points, 2 marks each. Don't mix them. Don't say the gradient is flat and the velocity of the river decreases. Right, guys, please answer point by point. You write a point, you put a full stop. You write another point, you put a full stop. How do you get 2 marks for each point? Cause and effect. Give a cause and an effect. The velocity decreases. That's the effect. Why is that? It's because the gradient is gentle. The carrying capacity decreases, or you can say the carrying capacity is low. Why is that? Is because the velocity is now low, right? Or the river is now slow. So you give a cause and an effect so that you get the entire 2 marks per point, as I always say, guys. So that's what happens at the lower course, right? So at the lower course, another thing, the flow, when we're talking about the river discharge, the flow, remember guys, we talked about 2 different types of flow. We say that we've got a turbulent flow. We also have got a laminar flow. So a turbulent flow and a laminar flow. So in a turbulent flow, we say that the river flows violently or the river is flowing chaotically. So you can say that there is chaos or there is violence in which the river flows. And this is caused by a riverbed that is uneven. Okay. And this actually results in more erosion and the water actually flows in a bubbly-like motion. That's a turbulent flow. But when you say it's a laminar flow, the water, it is flowing in smooth layers, right? So the water is flowing in smooth layers and it is not having that much speed, okay? It is flowing in parallel sheets, or you can say that it is flowing in smooth layers. It's not eroding that much because it's just flowing in smooth layers. So if you see a river like this, guys, it is most likely in its lower course, because now you can see, guys, that this area is a flat place, right? It's a flat place, guys. At the lower course, one other thing, we can even stay there. We can build homes near the lower course of the river. I mean, can you guys see the homes in this picture? You guys see homes there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, people are building houses, guys. This is actually known as a flat plain. This place is just a flat area. Once you see this is a flat area, guys, you can see that this place is not really steep, guys. It looks flat. So this is most likely the lower course presented in this image, right? And people can even stay at the lower course because this area is just flat and it is wide. It's known as a flat plain. Later on, you're going to do fluvial landforms. You guys are going to understand what a flat plain is with better detail. But at the lower course, it is very flat. You can build homes. You can do whatever it is that you want. The water does not flow violently. There is no mountainous thingy. Nothing. It's just laminar flow, smooth flow. Yes, SMO.
So I wanted to ask, how does the river, the water associated with farming, agricultural, with doing agricultural activities in that particular course?
Okay, yes, okay, so that's one of the applications that you're gonna do to say, as I was explaining, at the lower course, we can build our homes, we can build our farms. It's a very good thing to settle closer to a river. It's because the river can serve as a source of water for you to be able to do agriculture. I don't know if I'm answering the right thing, but basically you can do agriculture in this area because there's fertile land near the river's course at the lower course.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but don't worry
Okay,
about it. We're gonna do further more of it, the applications later on. For now, just want you guys to get a sense that at the lower course, the river is very flat. Okay, the area is flat. You guys can see that this area is very flat. People can build their homes here. The water is flowing steadily. So there's a lot of deposition that's happening here. If you just go inside the river, if you dare go into the river, you're gonna see a lot of deposited materials, rocks and stones, if you just go deep into this river. In fact, we should try and take a tour, guys. I should take you out on a tour and visit one of the rivers here in KZN so that you guys can see it from a realistic point of view. But basically, this is a lower course, guys. Lower course, you can stay in it. So the river is now approaching closer to the ocean. The river is now almost going towards the ocean. That's the lower course of the river. Right? And this is a front view of the river. That's the front view that we're getting. If we still keep on going deeper, we can be able to see the shape of the valleys from this. This is the transverse profile that I was talking about. All right. So yeah, guys, a laminar flow is one of the flow characteristics of the water of the river at the lower course, because when the river gets to the lower course, basically it is now steadily flowing. There is a gentle gradient, so it's not really moving fast because the velocity is slow valley. So it's just gonna have a smooth flow in parallel sheets. That's laminar flow. So laminar flow is just dominance there. And the riverbed is somewhat smooth at the bottom here. It is somewhat smooth because now there's not too much erosion. There is less traction load and bed load, all of that. There's less of it because it's in the lower course. And at the upper course, we did have a lot of traction load that was being removed from the ground and was just sliding on the riverbed. But now at the lower course, the river is now becoming a bit steady. You can even swim at the lower course. But if you go to the upper course, you guys know what rivers can take you. Do you guys know that if it's a rainy season and the river is rejuvenated and you get inside the river, it can take you. Some people have passed on, lost relatives just from rivers. You get into the river, goes with you wherever it goes. Until the ocean, or maybe until you meet something else. So it's a very, 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 very dangerous thing, this thing, especially when it is rejuvenated. If it has got a lot of water in it, it's got more erosive power. You step in it, it takes you away. So never try attempt to swimming in that. But you guys are staying in modern suburbs and stuff like that. You probably don't know what I'm talking about. But basically, this thing, the river, is powerful at the upper course, but when it gets to the lower course, it becomes steady a bit, and you can even swim in it. You can do a couple of things in it, and everything like that. So, guys, this actually summarizes the profiles, the longitudinal and the transverse profile. And to test your knowledge, I'm going to give this activity for you guys. We're gonna do it right now. This is Eastern Cape as September 2025. So this is from the previous year's metrics. Let's see. From 2025, what do they have here? Okay. So this is a match with the concept, a type of question, because here they are saying to us that the sketch below shows the longitudinal profile. So this is a longitudinal profile and the cross profile. Guys, when I say the cross profile or the cross-sectional profile, is the same thing as saying the transverse profile. Still the same thing, the front view of the river. Now they say match the descriptions with the appropriate stage of the river. So match the description with the appropriate stage of a river or the appropriate course of the river. Remember, guys, we have got 3 stages of a river or 3 courses: upper course, middle course, lower course. You write only the letter A, B, C next to the question numbers, and so forth, and so on. All right, so let's do that. 2.2.1. 2.2.1 says downward erosion. So downward erosion depends the valley. So which stage is that? Because they say you should match this with the correct stage. write the letter A, B, or C. Yes, Sengoba? Yes, yes.
It is A, sir.
Yes, why is it A?
Ngoba ilokhuzana i-vertical erosion dominates results into deep and narrow valley. So say ushilo futhi nasibhaleni usisena lapha ku-A jolo kuba khona i-deeper valley which is steeper. So ingakho sise laphana sithi A.
Alright, exactly. So, guys, downward erosion depends the valley. That happens at the upper course of a river. This downward erosion happens here at the upper course when the river is just began. Here is a river and this tributaries here. So, here at this point, we've got these valleys. This is the cross profile, right? Or the cross-section profile, the transverse profile. The valleys, they are deep and they look like they are V-shaped. This is how they look like from a side view. So, they are looking like they are V-shaped. And then yeah, the valley is very wide and gently sloping. So we've got a term very wide. Yes, let's hear from the next person. Yes, Andile.
Okay, so that's C.
Okay, C. So we're taking C, guys. Remember, the valleys, they start to be wide there at the middle course, but they become more wider at the lower course because at the lower course, the dominant, it is deposition, right? But we still have got lateral erosion that keeps on making this valley to become U-shaped. Okay, so it becomes more wider. So this keyword very, so they are saying very there. So it is very wide. So very wide. And the slope is gentle. That is definitely a lower course. And that is represented by the cross profile C. Now 2.2.3. A straight stream channel with short non-perennial stream. There is a straight stream channel with short non-perennial. Yes, Siangoba.
I think, I'm not sure. Maybe, isn't it C?
Okay, why?
The straight stream.
Straight. Okay, what is straight in this context? Okay, let's hear from someone else. Okay, you say it's C because of the straight stream. Right,
Yes.
I think it's. Oh, sorry.
Yes, Andy.
Yes, sir. I think it's A, sir.
A. Why?
I think yes, sir. I think it's A because there's meandering in B and C. So if it's talking about straight, sir, I'm thinking of A.
Okay, let's look at the keywords. We've got straight stream channel. We also have got short non-perennial. So there are two things here. Straight stream channel. We also have got short non-perennial streams. Guys, when we say non-perennial, you guys know what perennial river is, right? Yes, what are perennial rivers?
Basically, they are permanent rivers.
Yes, they are permanent rivers.
Permanent rivers, in other way.
Exactly, they are permanent rivers, right? But now when we are saying non-perennial streams, it means that it is not permanent. The stream is not permanent. And it is short. It is straight stream channel with short non-perennial rivers. Okay, we've got two suggestions so far. We need more explanations. We've got two suggestions so far from how many people? Yes, still suggesting something else.
Can I change my suggestion? I think it is B.
Why B now? Oh, now we're at the middle course, really? Okay.
Sorry, sir, I wanted to say it A because we know see A, the short and short water. Yeah.
What's your answer actually, Samuel? I'm hearing many things now. What's your answer?
It's A, B, and C.
A, B, and C. Ow, let you off. All right, let's hear Sam.
Well, Samina, I think it's A.
Why, Sam? I want your reasons. That's all. Your reasons the most.
It's because of, I need to say about Amayang rivers are often flow on a straight steep channels within internal flow. I need to say.
Ama, please repeat that.
Like Ama river man like say are often flow on a steep channels. I need to say with an intermediate flow. I need to say.
Okay, you are saying something, yeah. You are saying something. I don't know if people are getting you. That's a powerful statement, though. All right. I think you guys can all see that is A there, right? So the upper course is the one that is having straight, guys. It's obvious it cannot be the lower course, it cannot be the middle course, because remember, guys, that at the middle course, someone said that we have meandering, right? Someone mentioned that we have meandering. If you can see one of these streams and tributaries, they are meandering. So the river starts to wind and bend, although this diagram doesn't really represent it better, but basically, what happens, the river starts to wind and bend. So we cannot have straight stream channel in the middle course, number one. Even at the lower course, we'll have even more meandering because we've got more lateral erosion, right? But besides that, let's talk about these short streams. Guys, the short streams, they are created from the catchment area, right? They're created from the catchment area. Remember when we're talking about, what are we talking about, Kanji? What was that? I already forgot. I think it was based on stream order. One of the things that we said is that if it happens that we have a steeper gradient, we've got a steeper gradient, we're going to have more short streams that are going to be first order streams. So let's just say the rain is actually raining on this side of the mountain. So the moment it rains, the water will run off from this place immediately, and it will create those first order streams, right? Those first order streams that will join in together, those short first order tributaries, right? And then they will quickly join each other to make longer ones and longer ones. At the middle course, we are now having longer tributaries joining in. You can see, guys, that now the tributaries here at the lower and the middle course, they are now coming from different places. They're far away there. Okay, so now they are now more longer, but the moment we are at the upper course, the tributaries that we have are these ones that form from the water, from the rainwater. The first order streams that form from the rainwater, they are very short, usually. In a dendritic, this is the standard dendritic pattern. Basically, you have got short streams after the water collects, and then now your tributaries become longer and longer and longer as time goes. So they are straight due to that steeper gradient as well. So they are straight, and they are also non-perennial. They are not permanent, guys. Yeah, that's one of the most important things. They are not permanent. Why do we say that they are not permanent? It's because they're only there because the rain is raining. Otherwise, if the rain stops raining, these streams, these tributaries will fade away. Guys, remember that the tributaries that we have at the upper course are those tributaries that are coming from the rainwater, from the catchment area's rainwater. So the moment it is raining, they start forming bone. And if it happens that it is no longer raining, they stop forming. So they are temporary, they are short, and they are non-perennial. They are not permanent. But the ones at the middle course, they will be more permanent because they are receiving water from the other ones there on top. But those ones that are receiving water from the rain and they are flowing their water down, they are not permanent, because if the rain stops, those are going to dry out. Those are short, non-perennial streams. So that's going to be option A, right? And then 2.2.4, let's complete it, guys. 2.2.4. 2.2.4, the laminar flow with the greater volume. We have got more volume of water, a greater volume of water, but we have got a laminar flow. Yes, Nwako.
So that's C, sir.
Okay, we're gonna go with C, right? Guys, remember at the lower course, we've got greater volume of water because basically all the tributaries have already collected and joined in to the water. But now we have what? Laminar flow. Laminar flow is found at the lower course. Smooth flow of water. 2.2.5, the river deposits more material than it erodes. Okay, which one is that one? The river deposits more. So it deposits more material than it erodes. So there is more
C,
deposition. Yes, still C, right? Do you all agree with that? Is it still C? The river deposits more
Yes,
than
sir.
it erodes. Yes, it is still C, guys, because remember, guys, that at the lower course, there is more deposition. The dominant fluvial process. They will ask it in that way, guys. They will say, what is the dominant fluvial process at the lower course? It is deposition. And I already told you how to explain why is there more deposition at the lower course. All right. 2.2.6, there are small flat plains that can be found. Don't know, we haven't done flat plains, but anyone who has an idea, I think I once mentioned the term flat plain. So there are small flat plains that may be found. There are small flat plains. Where can we find them? They are small. They are not so many. It's just small of them. Anyone who thinks something. By the way, guys, a flat plain is just a flat area. It's just a flat piece of land, a wide and flat piece of land. It is usually found at the lower course.
Isn't it?
Oh, yes, Kopan, you want to talk?
Oh, okay.
Oh yes, Tulisa. Oh, sorry, I think I'm confusing names here.
Oh, I asked, well, isn't it C?
Almost.
2.2.6.
Okay. C is correct for saying we do have flat plains in C, but there are a lot of flat plains in C. The question is saying small flat plains. Okay, so this small here is kind of telling us that we do not have many of them. At the lower course, we've got a lot of flat plains, all right? Yeah, but they start forming somewhere where they are a bit fewer. And now as we get to the lower course, we now have more
They
flat.
start forming at B.
Yes, they start forming at B. So that small is what you need to take into consideration. So now that's B. But you're going to do flat plains, but it's just an area, a flat area. All right. 2.2.7 is lateral erosion is dominating. Which place has got lateral erosion that is dominating?
B, sir.
Yes, B. Guys already know that the middle course is the lateral erosion is the dominant fluvial process at the middle course. That's lateral erosion. Yeah. So that's how you get your 7 out of 7, guys. This is all about the river profile. Don't cram this, guys. Please don't cram things when it comes to the river profile, because we will make reference to it whenever we do other problems. We'll always make reference to the river profile. And you guys don't forget the basic river concepts, such as the interflows and the watersheds. You guys can see that we have got here, these are interflows here, these high-lying areas between two tributaries, these high-lying areas, the interflows. Those are the things that we'll look at later on. The more we do questions, we are going to apply all of this when we do river rejuvenation. So in our next session, we'll be doing river capture. River capture will help us understand better the concept of headward erosion. All right, river capture.
Okay, can you please close our eyes? Heavenly Father, as we part ways and go to sleep, please be with us, cover us with your blood.